Yeah.
Oh yeah, residue, incorporating residue in tomatoes and harvesting
like
concerns.
You see right here, you're able to see some residue in the fields. But the process in tomatoes doesn't want no residue in the tomatoes. So it's a big challenge for us we had to kind of, have a clean surface. So when we're able to harvest the tomatoes, it goes clean. It's like the processing, they use MOT material other than tomatoes, and it's big deductions.
So when the harvester comes up and like lifts them out of the ground, the excess residue, like that way it gets taken.
It can be a problem. It can be with the tomatoes, and that's why we need that challenge in tomatoes to kind of incorporate and break down all the residue as much we can. We have another tomatoes that we grow like fresh market tomatoes. There's no problem. We can have all the residue, but we had to manage weeds, and sometimes with the equipment that we have, the residue, and when I cultivate, it kind of creates a little bit of problem. That's why I'm telling you that we need different type of equipment that can work in those conditions. We getting, we making Sano equipment, or looking Sano equipment, but it's still it's ways to improve everything. But the whole thing is that the soils is the one that got real benefits for this practice. The soils, organic matter, when we start back in those years, it was only like 0.5%, sometimes 0. My fields right now, they have 2.5 to 3% organic matter, so it's big improvement. And you can see the soil, it's so nice, so mellow. You can dig when you feed, you can dig everything. It's so soft, and it's thanks to these practices that we create when cover crops. You can look it up, all this residue, how in the soil incorporated, and makes wonders. You can dig everywhere you want to dig, and you find life in the soil. You find earthworms living right there that years ago you cannot even find nothing. So that means that we making these soils a lot healthy. Making the soils healthy, everything else is gonna come healthy and better food, better tasting, everything will be better.
So how about any thoughts on like has increasing organic matter increased your ability to like withstand and resist the drought cycles in California, and how in the last couple of years and then this last year of rain did you notice any like improvement with like water infiltration and or like things about like dust control or sort of like other factors?
Well, it's the thing, like all these it brings a series the benefits. I remember those years back in 80s, early 80s and everything, especially like in February, we have some kind of winds coming right here in these areas, February and March. You see those dust bows, the dust from the winds. You don't see that no more, because the soil, like say, more organic, more retains everything more better. The water, the rain that we have now mostly stays in the field. Before, you used to seal the top of the soil and zoom, run out, and you see those runouts, it might create problems with other fields, you know, creating erosion and everything. And you hardly now, you know, the rains that we have, we hardly see no rain coming out from our fields. You look it up, the neighbors that they don't do cover crops, you can look it up, you know, all the water running to the road but mostly when you see, you know, in those years right there, you can see that, you know, it's wet and everything, but the ground stays, you know, the water stays right there in the ground, and it lasts a lot longer, you know, like the years we have a drought and we're not able to get water from the district, and we had to follow some soil. Even in like in June, July, I able to go and probe those soils that they was follow, and you still see, you know, nice water way deep over there because the soil, it was able to grab the water. Compared the experience I have in those years when we used to till a lot, it's like a day and night. I remember those years we worked the ground real heavy. We put what I call a reaper. The reaper is only 3 shanks equipment that we put behind 500 horsepower, and it was so deep that the 500 horsepower is only able to reap with 3 shanks because it was about, you know, 38, 40 inches. And then behind we ran another chisel that was running about 32 inches, and this chisel had 5 or 7 shanks, but with the same tractor, 500 horsepower. And then we come with disc, come with try to level the ground with triplanes, and we make the furrows, that's rows, and then we have power incorporators to kind of smooth the bed and break it out, the soil, to able for us to have soil more fine to put seed in the soil. And the funny thing is, working all this soil that hard, by the spring, like March, I was trying to go and probe the field. I had to jump in my probe to stick it in the ground, and I said, why is it so hard? I mean, we worked this ground so hard, and why is it so hard? Well, it was so hard because there was no organic matter. The soil gets dry again, you know. But now, you know, you can see the difference. Everywhere you go, I mean, you can probe and dig and everything real easy. But like I said, it makes the real difference, visual and everything. I mean, old people that used to know these soils, they cannot believe it, how the soil changed.
Have you had any of your neighbors out here to see?
Well, the neighbors, they see me all the time. Even some of the neighbors around, they start following us, doing the same thing that we do. They start putting cover crops too, because they see what benefits. The only thing, adversity that we had right here, that we had to fight for water. You know, the water is like it's like a endangered species right here. Even, you know, years that we have normal years of rain and everything, we don't have the water we're supposed to get. You know, that's why you see all these wells right here. You know, the bad part of these wells, that the water that produces these wells is not good quality. We put in salts in our ground, or we put in boron in our ground. Sometimes can be toxic to our crops, and make us these crops produce less because the quality of water that we put in. And it's, you know, it's like I said, everything is challenging. I hope you know, the guys in charge of these rules, regulations understand about farming. The farming that is where everybody eats. With a farming, what are we gonna eat? And you had to eat no matter what. And but you know, we try to do the best we can.
Do you have any recollections of like a time when a neighbor or someone in the area was skeptical of what you were doing and came out and saw it and
Oh yeah, I have some neighbors saying that we were crazy. They say, "Oh, it's not gonna work. You guys crazy, you know, wasting your time doing this." But now, some of the neighbors they're following us because they see it. You know, farming is it's kind of funny. It's like sometimes it's hard to change. Really hard to change. For one, you have this practice for so many years, and you know what you do in every year after year. But when it takes, hey, let's change this. I mean, it's hard because we don't know how it's gonna be, how we're gonna end it up, you know. And this is the hard part, you know. This change, you know, it's hard, but it's good. In the end, it's good for everything. You know, we use less water to produce our crops. We use less fertilizer. We use less fuel. We use less equipment. The equipment is a lot less expensive because it's small tractors, not like huge tractors that we used to have years ago, and doing things a lot more simple, not polluting, you know, our environmental, and making you know, food a lot more safe, a lot more healthy. I think you know, it's good change.
So you said you have processing tomatoes and fresh market tomatoes?
Yes.
Have you always done both, or?
No. We're using another farm over there in Merced County. We're producing the fresh market tomatoes over there because the ability of the water was easy and less expensive over there. But you know, we got to the point that right here we cannot plant what we used to plant when the water that we have. So we decide to bring those tomatoes over here and you know, and managing over here, you know, instead of going back and forth and have equipment go back and forth, you know, and say, let's do it right here. It's a challenge because of water, but it's good deal because we produce a lot more right here with a little bit less that over there in Merced.
What got? Okay, so I guess you were doing fresh market tomatoes just somewhere else.
Yes, in Merced
Gotcha.
County, yes.
Very interesting.
Can we shift that way? And can we walk
Yeah.
into that field just
Right.
for a little slight change in the tractor and the orchard in the background?
Yeah.
A little bit, or?
Change the scenery.
Yeah, I was also thinking the sun's coming this way, so it'll be a little bit like less shadow on
Right.
you.
Yeah, that's a nice. That's what they
And you
have,
got so
David.
did you plant these tomato fields like with like
These
a
are the
plan
fresh market tomatoes?
a planned
Yeah.
rotation, or is this
This one.
can we maybe walk like right in here and just kind of stand on
Right.
this edge? We don't have to. So, but I mean, so like that field looks like it was more recently planted. This one looks like it's like, what, 2 weeks later, and this might be 2 weeks after that one?
Right, yeah.
Is that
So,
for just harvesting? And
this
these look
one is-
really green, by the way.
Yeah, this one is, actually we use with sulfur. That's why you see that.
What is
Why?
that?
Sulfur.
Ah,
It's for sun, mildew, and
yeah, for the
mites
fungicides.
and things like that. It's natural.
But it ends up providing fertility too. It's a win-win.
Yes,
Sulfur.
you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah, this one is market tomato that you can see right here. Doesn't matter how much they reap, because this tomato is picked by hand. So you know the people just pick it like in buckets and,
Really?
and go. Yes. It's the only way you can get fresh market tomato. For years they tried to come out on machine, and it's not able to have one machine, because this tomato is real, the skin is a little bit thinner, so it bruises, and when it bruises, doesn't ripe right. So everybody wants nice tomatoes in the market. Before you buy it, you have to see the real nice tomato. So if this tomato is bruised a little bit, no one's gonna buy it. So that's why everything is by hand. A lot more expensive to harvest and everything, but it's a challenge. You know, it's like they market. This can go higher, it can go lower.
Can you speak a little bit about the people who do this and the opportunity that provides for jobs?
Yeah, you know, mostly it's local people.
What towns are they from?
You
Fireball,
know, they
Mendota?
can come from the town of Mendota, Madera, even Merced, Dos Palos, but mostly these people is immigrant. You know, people that I say local, that live and grow up and right here, they don't come to work right here. It's real hard work. It's really challenging, you know, because they pay by piece. If you had to work real hard to pick fast enough to able to make some money, and to know how to do the job. I mean, it's really challenging. Mostly this hard work, like picking tomatoes, moving sprinkles, you'll be able to see the sprinkles later on. It's only done by immigrants. Maybe, I don't know if they're legal or not, but I don't care about that. As long as they do the job and show us they have proof to work right there, it's fine with us. But it's that the work the immigrants, and you don't see hardly no other people working right here. It's challenges because year to year it's less people to work with, and that's the only people that work in this and these kind of jobs conditions. When we start picking right here, start harvesting these tomatoes, temperature it can be over 100 degrees. Not too many people can stand those temperatures and working so hard do this. But it's the way, the natural way that, you know, this type of job is, and this type of crop. The processing tomatoes, everything is done by machine. It's totally different from right here. So, you know, sometimes we don't need hardly not no people in the machines, because they have electronics, can do the job, sort the tomatoes and everything. So it's a little bit different.
What do you guys do with the tomatoes that aren't up to snuff for the processors? The ones that they kind of say aren't quality enough.
The process, you know, the processed tomatoes, they have you know, of course, the state has like a station where they check all the tomato. They call the grading station. They grade what kind of tomato is there, the color, acid, sugar, and debris, and it's where comes the deductions. But, you know, and the processed tomatoes, sometimes not everything gets red. Sometimes it stays green or a little bit pink, and that one goes to the ground. It stays in the ground. Nobody wants that. So we had to send good quality production to the processors. And like I said, you know, that the loads fill up right here. From right here, it goes straight to the grade station, and the grade station send us the report, and they send the report to the processor, and that's how we get paid. You produce good quality tomatoes. Only few, I think, one or two only processors, they pay us a little bit more money for better quality tomato. But all the rest of it, you know, they don't care. They pay the same. So that's how it is, and you know, it's how we had to play, you know. But it's nice, and you feel good when, you know, you work this hard and do all these things to produce better things, and when you see and when they tell you, hey, your tomatoes, it was excellent, and good taste and everything, good color, good sugar and everything, I mean, you feel good. Versus that, you know, some guys, they say, well, the tomatoes I received from that guy, I mean, it's a lot of water on the tomatoes, and it's not great. We had to spend more money to process the tomatoes, because, you know, that the solid of the tomato was not there. And well, that's how it is, you know.
Have you noticed that your quality ratings have improved since you started?
Since we started growing this year, they've been better, you know. Try to, you know, every year try to be a little bit better. Definitely is good quality tomatoes that we produce.
Did you have a question?
I do, but this.
You're
wait,
wait
almost
for this?
gonna wait
Okay.
for it.
Yeah.
I had one too, but it seemed like you had one, and
Oh,
maybe we were waiting, so I'll be... Taking a tree down?
So I guess I was just kind of curious about kind of like the economics, or if you could speak to like the economics of increasing, of basically putting in drip lines and residue and reduced inputs and less agriculture, less farming. Is that like factored into like drought resistance, or the ability to bring down fresh market tomatoes here, even though water might be a little bit more expensive here? And how does that relate to maybe like keeping people employed, or the expense of having people actually hand pick the tomatoes?
Well, and the farmer, you know, the bottom line, every farmer is the bottom line. How much money is left over? We're able to, you know, even we put a real expensive water, but we're able to produce more with a little bit less water than normally. and also putting less fertilizer. That when and also using less labor and equipment and everything. The bottom line that we're able to stay in business still, even that we pay. Sometimes we pay 10 or 20 times more for water than any other farmers. Last year, before last 2 or 3 years, if you want to buy supplemental water, you had to pay over $2,000 acre foot of water. Our neighbors in the north, I don't think they can afford it to pay that much for water. Right here, we're able to pay that water because we have, for example, we have the trees right there. The tree that the almost a permanent crop, that we planted to stay for 20-25 years right there. If you have 10 years of the almond, and because you don't have the ability to put water 1 year, you're gonna lose all the money. It's big amount of money. So you are able to afford, and you had to buy the water, even the expensive, to keep, farming and make sure that the trees doesn't get hurt for the next years.
Have you guys thought at all about doing any cover crops in the orchards? And if not, maybe any challenges?
It's a big challenge in the orchards because sometimes we don't have the equipment. But it's something that's coming along. It's gonna come along because we see what the cover crop does right here in these row crops. That it had to benefit that the orchards. It's the only thing that is gonna change the whole deal. Probably it's gonna change what cover crops or be beneficial for the almonds. At the same time, those cover crops, what kind of insects they're gonna bring in, that has to be a benefit for the almonds, not the opposite. So it's a challenge that probably little by little is gonna come out. It's like over here too, for tomatoes we had to plant certain kind of crops only because another kind of crops bring insects that's not good for tomatoes. So everything is what and why, and all these questions that have to be answered. But
how did you guys figure that out with like the first round of cover crops? Maybe you could kind of walk us through like what you initially did in terms of cover crops out here, and then if you learned if it didn't work, why, and then how you kind of got to the mix that you're at now.
Yeah, when we start, we start with trilogy. What we're looking was, and trilogy is a cover crop that it does a lot of tremendous root mass, and we're looking for roots. Why roots? Well, to increase organic matter, to be able to soften the ground a little bit more. We stick with trilogy for 3 or 4 years. Now we have to look for something else to give us benefits to, let's say, to kill like diseases in the soil. What cover crops? We start looking like radish, different crops that actually help you to reduce those pathogens in the soil. It kind of works, when you have tomatoes after tomatoes after tomatoes, your pathogens start increasing, and it's challenging. What we're gonna do to decrease, because we cannot have, and that's what it comes. Information, it comes. It's like Jeff give us information that farmer advisors, tell us, hey, this crop, we had these trials, this, that, and we'll try to get information, and NRCS and all these departments, we try to absorb the much we can information to help us to do better job in these things.
So is it garbanzo beans that you're doing now?
We did it in garbanzo beans years ago. The reason we did it garbanzo beans to increase nitrogen in the soil, but it was not that much organic matter right there. I mean, we got one point that too many people was planting garbanzo beans, and it was not worth it. We lose money, so hey, we had to move. And actually, garbanzo beans was a crop, not cover crop. It was a crop, but we used it like not cover crop, like a crop, to kind of change, crop, and kind of rotate the soil when, it was good. Able to come out okay when, the price was right. That's why we incorporate now garlic. Why we incorporate garlic? Because garlic is real early season. We start actually planting like in the winter. In the winter, if you need water, it's the only crop that can use it. In the winter, almonds or tomatoes or the ground tomato doesn't need water. So it kind of helped us, because when we finish that garlic, actually is when we start using that water for tomatoes. So it kind of, it was really a good rotation. And it's good for garlic because it brings a little bit of money too, and it helps us to make good rotation right there. This year we gonna try using cantaloupes. Cantaloupes will also be like a rotation, but it's kind of challenging because sometimes the market it goes flat, and actually you lose money. So we'll see what happens right there.
How can there not be tons of people who want cantaloupes?
Yes.
I'll eat one in one sitting. It's up to you. I had a question about the diversification here of having tree crops and vegetable crops, and if that gives you any sort of resilience in terms of if it's a bad year for one, do the tree crops kind of...
Yeah, that's why farming you have to diversify, because every year is different. Every year is different. Nothing is the same. One year could be bad weather for the tomatoes, but it could be good weather for the almonds. Vice versa. Tomatoes is, not much money, and almonds bring a little bit more money, and and it works all the time. But you have to think about it. Almonds uses a lot more water than tomatoes, so you had to really go to draw the line, your limits, how much you can water permanent crops, we have probably about 30% on permanent crops. I think it'll be the most we can handle with the water that we get right here. We try to put more, we're gonna get trouble because we're not gonna able to supply, and really drought years. We're not gonna able to supply all the permanent crops, and we're gonna get hurt.
Do you guys? I know you said it's a challenge to do cover cropping in the orchards because of the equipment, but do you do anything in terms of putting some organics back in, or mulching or anything like that?
Well, and they're almost like in tomatoes, processing tomatoes, because it takes different. We try to incorporate like compost, and the almost because the rules that we have, safety, food safety. Sometimes they don't want certain compost because it can create bacteria. It can be, I don't know, who's not that, and that's why it's challenging right there. Safety food, food safety is really, big deal. You had to be on top of it, 100%. You don't want to nobody gets sick from your products. And actually, I has, almost 50 years in farming right here. I never experiment. I never know nobody getting sick from our fields eating products from the fields. They get sick because the processor or the packing and everything, but not from right here. And we are right here all the time eating tomatoes. You just grab it from the vine, eat it, go to the almost, peel it, eat it. Cantaloupes, you can slice it right there, and nobody gets sick. So I don't know.
Do you like the green almonds?
Yes.
Yeah. Someone put me on to pickling green almonds. It was delicious.
Well, it's like a green tomatoes. You ever put in the grill green tomatoes? It's delicious.
Yeah, that's good.
You hear about fried green tomatoes, but I've never actually done it. If I'm being totally
really? You
honest.
gotta go to a really good barbecue or southern restaurant. You'll get fried green tomatoes.
Oh, yeah.
Do you want to
like
maybe go somewhere else as well?
But I did want to ask one quick question, if that's okay. Maybe just while I have it in my head. You mentioned that in the beginning, it wasn't like you just noticed that the fields that were in wheat in the winters were doing better because they hadn't laid fallow.
Right.
And I'm just curious, had you ever heard of cover cropping before that? Did anyone else in the area ever?
No, because this one was back in the late 80s, and we hear back east, Midwest, hey, but those guys, they have different conditions that we are and everything. Yeah, but and actually it's kind of funny because I went in those areas to take some classes, some like GPS or some kind of smart technology classes to implement over here. Before the drip tape, I was able to use variable rates, fertilizer application variable rates, amendments, and even generate geomaps when we harvesting. And because we used to irrigate conventional for irrigation and everything, but when it came the drip tape, the whole deal changed. Why you had to do that? We put the water through the tape, we put the fertilizer, and you know, we just feed whatever the plant needs. So it kind of throws out, but look like it's coming again, because I see some areas in our fields are getting deficient because we concentrate only in certain areas, the fertilizer and everything, but the roots actually goes beyond that, and in those areas we get in deficiency in some nutrients. So we're gonna have to start again going, and every year I take soil samples. It used to be grit samples. Now I do zones, type of soils, and it gives me surface nutrition maps, each element, and I can see where are getting low and where are getting adequate or high, whatever. And I think if we go back to variable applications, we're gonna save even more money.
Definitely. Definitely. Did you say you wanted to make a move?
Yeah, but I guess on that. Okay, let's just go somewhere else. Yeah. I can get.
We have a little bit more rain, and we're able to have this that actually is helping the soil to kind of insulate the soil a little bit, you know. But this year, you know, normally we got good rain and everything. It worked out a lot better, you know, all the ways. You know, principle because that we got water, that's good water from our district. We didn't have to use our well water. That's kind of, you know, bad quality. So it gives us a chance to kind of flush the salts that we put in the years back, you know, below the root zone. So to make things better.
Can you walk a little bit away from there?
I don't know, you're gonna go back and when we started, how, why, and you know what we tried to do.
Yeah, definitely like a history about yourself. I remember reading something about like your grandfather's farming as well, and then
You know,
kind of like how like just your interest in it.
Yeah. Well, I was a young guy when I came to the United States, but I have when I was a child, you know, I grew up with my grandfather that it was a farmer and also had different business going. But I remember going to the farm in those years. You know, I'm talking maybe late 50s, when I probably have like 9-10 years old. I see that in this field they had corn. They harvest corn, they harvest beans, and also harvest squash. 3 things in the same season. And but you know, it was a small farms, like, you know, let's talk about maybe 10 acres, 15, 20 acres. But those guys, they were not using, you know, heavy equipment at all. Actually using sometimes horses to make the road where we're gonna put the corn. But at the same time, they put in, you know, beans, squash. First of all, they come and harvest the beans. Later on, come and harvest the corn, and for last, they can harvest those big old squash, big old pumpkins. And then behind that, it comes the cattle. That the cattle kind of mulching everything and giving some of the residue, you know, make fertilizer and everything, and and, and it was nothing like right here, tuning your soil, doing all this stuff. It was nothing, the cattle kind of makes everything flat and everything, and they plant again. And I remember when I was a kid, huge piles of corn, squash, beans, and everything, and people was happy. I remember the whole family, in those years when at harvesting time, it was like picnic. Hey, let's go harvesting. They make food over there and the farm, and everybody eats and everything. It was joy. Well, I think right here it's not the same because times change, commercial and everything, they're all different. But it was real nice. And I kind of, because look it up those years, and I got one point when this guy was talking about companion crops. And that's when everything started coming up to me. He said, why those guys in those years was able to do this stuff, and why when this technology and everything, we don't think about it. Companion crops are good technology and everything. Why? Because sometimes these crops incorporate this insect that's beneficial for this, that kill this, that the fields that we have no companion crops, but you're gonna see that beneficials, we have only few. Why we didn't have the rest of it? Because probably the other beneficials, they don't like that crop. They like different deal. And that's how, everything I think works. Same thing like beans, it help the corn. Beans kind of generate nitrogen, kind of help the corn to be a lot healthy. And maybe also that the squash or pumpkins, it got benefits from those too. It kind of, all three work together, all fine. And the thing is that this is for a small farm compared to, these farms is 4, 5, 6,000 acres. It's total different deal, and it'll be challenging, must train something, but in the end, if it works, it'll be really something, don't you think? It's like have one tree, they give you apples, peaches, nectarines, the same tree. And it can be done.
So my mom in our backyard has like multiple fruit trees with like different grafts of the fruit on it. So like, it's like one tree is enough for like one person, one family, right? Yeah. So like it's like staged off. So like maybe 3 to 4 weeks, a different like quarter or section of the tree is like fruiting, is in like, is like ripe for picking. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. But imagine, the tree that give you 3 different fruits. I think that some people are doing it now. And I think it's, it's something that will be done. A lot of people is afraid pesticides and afraid to these, but I think they're not well informed. The pesticides we use is relatively real safe and everything, and pesticides is not gonna kill people. If their use is probably the wrong way, maybe make the people sick. One time it was funny. One time Jeff asked me, say, Jesse, I have some companions. I have one person from the desk, that Senator Feinstein, and I have some people from that Secretary of Agriculture and some other, you know, people high in the government. He said, I wonder if we can stop buying you. I said, yeah, stop buying. We harvesting, and those guys, they see the farm and everything, and he said, wow, beautiful, how clean you have the ranch right here. I said, well, we'll try to do whatever. And we stopped in the end of the field that was harvesting, and these people look at the harvest, look at all the tomato coming out from the harvest to the top, and this gentleman from the desk of Senator Feinstein asked me, he said, but where are these all tomato coming from? He said, I don't see the tomato. I said, well, look at the tomato, you cannot see on top of the plant. So I got the plant, I kind of turned it over and see all the tomato, his eyes open. Oh my God, all these tomatoes right here. He said, yes. Can I eat one? He said, you can eat what many you want. He went and grabbed one tomato, fall right there, and not even check it, and his clothes just straight to his mouth, eat it. And I don't know if Jeff remember, I told him, he said, see, it's no, they don't care about pesticides. This is, you know, conventional tomato. We put pesticides, but it's not gonna get sick. But, and the guy told me, saying, you know what, this is the best tomato I ever eaten in my life, because it's natural, and you know, and that's how I mean, sometimes people doesn't get informed and everything, but it's a lot of misperceptions how farmers are.
So I want to ask you a question, and you don't have to. There's no right answer, but I'm just curious what you think about. Why do you think that the fruit that you produce has such a better taste than what people are used to?
The fruit that we produce is better taste because the technology now allows to check, for example, check the soils. What is deficiency in the soils, and we apply those products and make the soil work better, and the plants actually gets all those nutrients, and the plant and the fruit getting all these minerals and nutrients from the soil. Of course, it's gonna taste better. Not because they put this gene, they put another gene and everything. I say you can see when the fruit is natural, tastes natural. Sometimes you see fruits that they put one gene, they make this fruit from two fruits different, and they make one because the technology, but it tastes funny. I don't know, it's different. It's what I see. I see some fruit that they come out new because they have the gene of different fruit. And you say, and actually it's real expensive, but it tastes funny. You know, I don't know. It's my opinion.
It's actually more than your opinion. It's, no, really, they found out that the gene. So at UC Davis is where they first started the what's it called, the flavor saver tomato, the one that doesn't bruise, so that you can do the processing. And actually they found that the gene that they were modifying for the flavor saver tomato so that it would hold up under processing was attached to the gene that attributes the flavor to the tomato. Yeah. So you couldn't make it hardier, you couldn't change it to make it thicker skinned without sacrificing taste.
Right, yes. Well, that's why it's one of the things that, you know, in the processing tomatoes that we grow right here, we don't decide what variety we plant. The processors decide what variety they want and when to plant and when to harvest, because they are the ones they want sometimes this product for this taste, especially in the food restaurant and the food restaurant area, that they want this product to taste this taste. That's why they want these varieties for the different taste. But when these breeders come with these different varieties, and we tell them, hey, this variety produce a lot more. You know, I think it's good if you say yes, produce a lot more, but it doesn't taste the same. And that's what we don't want. We want something taste like this. And that's what you're saying, you know. You know, there's breeders they can produce more food and everything, but doesn't have that taste that they wanted.
So, how old were you said, when you came here?
I probably was like 17 years old,
And
17, 18 years old.
What was your progression from like when you arrived to ending up farming? Was that something you did right when you
No, actually, I supposed to come to school. I was school in Mexico. I was college in Mexico. I was supposed to come at school in Mexico, and actually I came with my sister. And you're gonna go to school over there. And when I came and I started going to school, and I see, you know, all this. Actually, in the weekends, in those years, the farmers allowed to ask for work in the field, and we started going from school in the weekends. Let's go to work in the fields and the hoeing, whatever. And I started looking up these things. You know, hey, that'd be nice. You know, I think I like to be working right here, but not doing this. I like to grow these things, and that's how I started. You know, I'm gonna do this. I able to do that. I like to do this. I able to do that, and it was challenging, but you know, managing for me to start moving, and that's how I started.
Was Sano Farms the first one that you?
No. My first farm was it was Coy Ranch. Coy Ranch has a history. The owner of Coy Ranch, I think it was from Germany. The guy, he started with 40 acres, ended up with 10,000 acres. And his life, pure life. And I started working in that company, like say, in the weekends, going to the home. When I decided to go start working, I started working like a timekeeper, working in different areas, and I ended up working with the field superintendent. And he told me, he promised, hey, you work for me for so many years, I'm gonna teach you everything. So I like that. And we started working, and I learned a lot from him. And you know, of course, you know, I started learning outside different things and everything. But it's how, you know, you wanna be, how much you wanna learn. It's in you. And you know, everything come out from right there. Actually, in Rings, right here, when Rings, I started working back in 1980, and I got stuck with here. Yeah.
They wouldn't let you leave, huh?
Well, you know, when I knew Rings, it was a small farm and everything, and we got along pretty well. and we were thinking about the same, so we just kind of keep going.
Are you and Alan close in age?
No, I'm 10 years older than Alan.
Okay.
Yeah.
But still, that's kind of close enough that you've kind of grown with this
Oh
land
yes,
together,
yes,
probably, huh?
yes, yes. Yeah, I know Alan since he was a teenager. You know.
Have you seen a change in him at all since? Well, maybe take a step back. If you could talk, I already know this story, but you know the viewers won't. But if you could talk a little bit about when you first went to him about cover cropping and kind of like him saying no, and then you kind of getting your chance.
Well, you know, the thing is when you starting, you know, start to growing your farm and everything, you think a lot about the bottom line, what's gonna be, how much money I'm gonna spend, how much money I'm gonna get, you know, is the hard part right there. Sometimes when cover crops involves expenses and everything, you might don't recuperate right away because it's not visual. You know, how I gonna spend $30-40 an acre? How I gonna recuperate those? You don't see it right away. You see on the time, and you know, saving this, saving that, saving this, and you know, the beginning was challenging. Like I say, when Jeff came along, Jeff helped me to convince them. You know, hey, let's try it and see. And when they see it, you know, how well and everything perform, you know, let's say, let's do it. Like I say, you know, change is hard. Change is hard, and it took it kind of hard to change, but eventually we move out. And it's not perfect. It's still working. Like I say, try to even get more varieties of cover crops and area, but manage it, how to minimize the till with those cover crops. You know, how to minimize the process that we go through the field, but achieving what we want to achieve. You know, plant those processing tomatoes with not too many debris and be managed. You know, like I say, year after years, you know, year and every year is different. Some years you don't get no rain, some years you get kind of late rain, so yeah, kind of learning proceed every year.
Have you always been an eager learner? And in addition to that question, did you really like school, like sitting in school and learning, or is this just a different experience for you, learning the land?
You know, I always like challenge. I'm eager learning all the time. Being in the school, I like it. When I was school, I like school. Actually, doing pretty good in school. But my life has been a challenge. You know, I look at something and look it up. If we can do it, let's do it. Even if 10 persons told me you cannot do it, well, let's go and do it. And I kind of that way, you know. But you know, it's definitely a lot of things they can do on the farm.
What's the greatest, and you can take your time on this one if you need to, the greatest lesson you've learned from the land and from being a farmer?
You know, be a farmer, the biggest reward, I mean, you can get this is when you see your product come out and people telling you, hey, thanks for you quality of fruit that you give me. I think it's well recorded, the thanks. And because they see it, and some people know how it tastes to get to that point.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I guess this is my nerd question that I like to ask everyone. What does soil mean to you? Just kind of take that
Well,
any
soil is life. I think it's like any living thing. You had to know how to protect it, how to make it better. Always you had to respect the soil and try to do it better, because the soil is what brings life in this earth. Everything comes from soil. So I say I had to have my respect for soil and how to not mistreat it, doing things that is gonna hurt the soil.
That's like, yeah. That's why I'm studying soil. And I had no idea. I mean, like you were saying, growing up in the Central Valley, I grew up outside Washington, D.C., which is something we can also talk about really quickly. But yeah, growing up in a suburban area, I had the closest I got to soil was my dad had a strawberry patch in the backyard, which was actually quite nice. But I still didn't understand it all. And once I found out, I was like, oh my God, my whole life is a lie. You know, I have to quit my job and.
You know, let me tell you this story. When I got an award and they called me to go and get honors in the White House, it was this girl from Pennsylvania, I think it was, in the city. Somehow she managed somebody give it like a little piece of land, and she started putting vegetables and everything. She started inviting kindergartners to go and help her. The kids liked so much that they then went the first graders. The project started growing more and more. To not make it long, people started giving more land and start producing vegetables, fresh vegetables, and taking those vegetables to homeless houses, needed people. But the kids were cultivating those vegetables, learning the age, and that's the reason she got an award from the White House doing that kind of stuff in the city. I think, you know, if you can do these things and teaching how and you know and showing what the soil can do for us, I mean, it's really something. Yeah.
So what were you at the White House for? Can you tell us what you were being honored for? Brag a little about yourself.
No, not really. Well, you know, I got called because some reports I did it when USDA and NRCS how we fighting climate change when the practice that we farming. you know, how we can able to hold the rain in the soil, how we can get the soil better to produce more with less, you know, not necessarily, but the main thing was, you know, how we changing climate change, how we adapting to climate change with those practices. Yes, was the main reason.
I bet there's a little more to it than that. Were you an active role, and you mentioned that some of your neighbors have adopted some similar practices, and were you actively bringing them here, or
Actually, you know, we have visitors in this farm from all over the world. Can we here? Jeff Mitchell sometimes bring buses of people to look, and I tell him how we do and everything. I have people from Pakistan, I have people from Egypt, I have people from Turkey, I have people from South America, Central America, I have people from all over, even from India, you know. They read about it, they see it, and they want to know, they want to see it. I have people from Spain, actually from Spain, that have a friend in Spain, we become friends right here, visiting me, that I started introducing him how to use cover crops, and this friend of mine in Spain has 3 years using cover crops. He loves that. He's doing a lot better than I used to do on cover crops.
So when you were talking about cover crops before, have you ever considered, like, and you mentioned like bees or pollinators, you know, for the almonds, have you considered like cover crops that bring in like pollinators and bees around, like timing that with like the almond bloom, and kind of like using that as a cover crop and a way to
well, yeah, we have one of the deals that we have, for example, bees like mustard a lot, but also mustard brings some insects to the tomatoes that's harmful for the tomatoes. So we, you know, like this year I introduced cover crop. Some fields we have white and yellow mustard. Actually, mustard also is one of the cover crops to help you to clean pathogens in the soil. But we try to determine it early enough so we wouldn't have infestation, curly top and things like that, that these insects are, you know, they like this, hang around on these crops. But yeah, it's the reason sometimes, like I told you, sometimes we have to look, be careful what cover crops we can bring, so it'll be benefit. And I didn't look it up close enough about what kind of crops that'll be good for the bees in the winter, and also be good for our tomatoes. I think it'll be great if we can find something in common. We can work both ways. You know, when the beekeepers bring the bees and everything, I mean, we try to help the bees. We give it water and put a little bit of sugar and everything. So when there's no flowers, the bees can eat something. But when there's flowers, we want the bees bigger when the flowers. You know. But yeah, it'll be nice if you can find something like that. You know, I know when I keep looking for and find something that will be beneficial for both crops.
Do you bring in bee boxes at all, or?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
And actually, getting expensive every year.
Really?
Yeah, yes.
Just because there's more demand, you think, or?
I think so.
Yeah.
You know, look at 10 years ago, how many acres of almost we have. How many acres of almost we have now. And only not bees in the almost. So they need bees and cantaloupes, they bring bees. And I remember the beekeeper asked you, hey, can I please put my bees in your fields? And I pay you a little bit. Now, you have to pay for it.
Speaking of that sort of arrangement, have you ever thought about, you know, you talked about the cover cropping and it being an issue with equipment. Have you ever thought about just going back to your roots and bringing the cattle in? Well, maybe not cattle in the orchard, but some sort of ruminants?
I think, you know, we don't have cattle right here, you know, but I'm pretty sure that the persons that they have that, I'm pretty sure they start doing that. The only thing, you know, the thing is so demanding that those guys that have, they are in the dairies, that, you know, they finish this field for, you know, the feed, and right behind they put another crop right away, you know, and constantly. But you know, I don't know, you know, some people, they say that the cattle and the field contaminates more than in the corral, so I don't know how it works.
Yeah. So I don't know if you could talk a little bit about, I mean, I know it's hard to, again, to brag about yourself at all, but just the impact that what you do has on the community at large. I know we've talked a little bit about this in little parts, but just kind of how, you know, you said like healthy soil means better crop, means feeding people something better, and just like maybe big picture how what you do trickles down to make your community better.
You know, this kind of jobs and everything, you know, mostly that right here around us, I say probably 80% or 85% or 90% is Spanish-speaking people. All this news and everything, you know, is in English, and only few people, they get to know the whole story. I see a lot of guys, hey, congratulations for your story and everything, but most of the people, they're blank, they don't know. Maybe because we need more communication, things like that. But I know the people that they know the story and everything. They seem proud, you know, that one person from this area is doing these things. You know, I feel good, you know, that, you know, they recognize that and everything. You know, Alan feels the same way, because when we go to a meeting, say, hey, Alan, congratulations, and you guys did this and this, you know, it's good. It's good to people recognize sometimes little things that we do on the farm.
Sure. And this kind of overlaps maybe a little bit, but speaking of being proud of things, what, and if you can try to recall a specific time, maybe even, but just your proudest moment in farming.
Well, you know, I think the proudest moment is when, you know, my whole family grew up right here on the farm, and I think that the proudest moment is when all my kids, they have own profession and everything, and all my kids, they tell me, you know, that if we go back again, I want to grow up in the same conditions that we grew up in the farm. I think that one hit me pretty good, so I think I think we did something good.
What?
Well, I imagine there'd be a lot of freedom growing up on a farm. You know,
Yes.
you got a lot of places you can run away
right.
and get away from family and cause mischief, right?
The kids know, you know, what really involves and everything in the farm, you know.
How many kids do you have?
I had 3 kids, 2 girls and a boy.
And what are they up to now?
One is finance advisor. Another one works in well, actually, she got married and she has a baby. She left the work. She's at home, but she was involved in law. And the youngest is a man. He's an accountant.
Do they help with the accounting on the farm?
Oh yes. Well, it's what he does. He manages a large farming business.
Nice.
It's accounting on the farming business.
And did your daughter's law involve farming at all, or?
No, it's corporate law. Yeah.
And then you said the other one was a financial advisor?
Yes.
Very cool. And are they local at all, or?
Close by. One is here by San Jose. Another one is over there in San Diego. And my son is right here in Fresno.
And so your daughter's has a son or a daughter? You have a grandchild.
Yes, it's the one in San Diego.
How old's your grandchild?
It's 15 months right now. It's a little wonderful kid.
Next generation to
Yes,
get
yes,
the influence from the
yeah.
farm. That's really great. Do you have any questions or things you'd like to do?
I want to film you picking up a green almond off the tree and like inspecting it, maybe talking about it a little bit.
Okay.
You know, just a little like staged photography.
You know, right now this almost is kind of getting hard. You see, it's getting the meat right now is getting hard. You know, you look it up and probably almost in a month, a little bit over a month, it'll be splitting. You know, ready to start drying out. This is the almond. You know, the shell is starting getting hard. So not too long we're gonna able to start knocking down these almonds. Actually, it's pretty good tasting.
Eat them green.
Yeah.
Food for the soil.
Yes.
Some almond for you, some
Yeah.
skin for the soil.
So have you noticed like any like organic matter increases in the orchards relating to like dust, or how you like actually like the harvest
Actually,
time?
organic matter increases over here because not tilled. You know, like you see a little bit debris that stays right there. Not not as much as the fields that we put cover crops, but it's increasing a little bit.
And that really, like, you shake the almonds off the tree,
Right, right.
and that has, have you like noticed a reduction in dust at all, or like?
Well, all depends on the year. You know, some years are really dry, that doesn't allow to have this grass and this time of the year. The years that when the years are dry, I mean, dust and everything comes from everywhere, you know, and you see some, you know, more dust than other ones. But all depends on the season, the year, the rain. I think this one is gonna be one of the years you're gonna see less pollution on the almonds because the rain that we got this year.
When you harvest, does anything get left behind? What do you do with the hulls?
Nothing gets behind. That everything, the holes that go to the cleaner where split the meat and the holes. And the holes, I understand they prepare those for cattle feed or something like that. That I don't wanna mention too much things about it. I'm not agree, but
Now you're making us curious.
You don't agree to what?
What don't you agree to?
no.
Pleading the fifth. Taking your daughter's legal advice and saying nothing. Very interesting. Yeah, I actually, sorry, this is totally unrelated, my own little side note, but I'm doing my PhD and I'm trying to figure out what I'm doing next. And one thing I'm really interested in is finding farms like yours where you have perennials and annuals, and doing some different assessments on the carbon. Because
Right.
the idea is that perennials should sequester more carbon because
Right.
they have, you know, all this root mass and the roots can get very deep. And like you said, they're not tilled, so you're not mixing things up and adding a whole bunch of oxygen and letting microbes just go nuts.
Right.
So yeah, it'd be really interesting to look at actually not just the quantity of organic matter, but the quality of it, how stable it is, and different things like that in the perennials versus the annuals.
Yeah, it'll be pretty good. Yeah.
Very cool. Do you have any issues with compaction and with the equipment that comes through here and no-till?
Well, we try to manage. When we had to spray, we tried to these rows will be dry, so minimize compaction. Try to kind of following the irrigations. For example, we got to spray. I like to spray. Probably one day before the irrigation, that'll be the driest part of the field. So, so there'll be no compaction. Right after spraying, you start irrigating and try to avoid, the compaction that way, because compaction is a lot more greater when the soil is a little bit wet. Yeah. So you try to avoid doing those mistakes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Trying to think what else. Stefan, do you have anything?
I guess probably good for now. In terms of here.
curious if you asked your kids about, you know, how important soil is, do you think they'd see it?
Actually, you know, my older daughter, the one is Sanchez financial advisor. They grow vegetables in the backyard. My my youngest kid, that he lives in Fresno, he does too. He has his own garden and everything in the backyard. The one lives in San Diego doesn't have no opportunity because lives in those high risers, so there's no soil over there. But they do. They like to do those kind of things.
Yeah.
Do you have an at-home garden in your backyard?
I have this one right here.
The whole
You know, actually, I leave home about 6 o'clock in the morning, and I get home probably about 6 p.m. So there's not much time for gardening. Especially when you are old, like when I am, you get tired and everything. So. Younger, different. So. But when I was younger, I able to get all kinds of fruits and things in the house.
Can you maybe say something about how that feels, just like on a philosophical level almost, to have that self-sufficiency, to know that no matter what happens, you know how to grow your own food? Or
it's security. It's like when you're a kid and your father teach you or take you to a class to learn karate. How you feel when you learn karate and you go to school? You feel a lot more confidence that no matter what, you know how you're gonna defend yourself. Same thing like when you learn all these things, you look how would be the best way to manage the situation. Because like I say, year after year is learning. It's not 2 years the same. Year after year is learning. And one guy told me that to become a farmer, you need 50 years of school and the farm. After you get 50 years in the school and the farm, you become a farmer.
Okay. The question I wanted to ask was just like, well, and it's also just something I think a lot about personally, but like, you know, we live in a very polarized world of like everything's black and white. Like you're either a Democrat or a Republican, or you're a vegan or you're paleo, or like it's just very, people have a hard time with the middle ground. And what I think is interesting is something you said about your kids, that they have home gardens, and it's, I think we have this, people are starting to become more aware about how disconnected they are from farming or from their food, and a lot of people don't know what to do. They think, oh, I don't know what to do. Do I quit my job and become a farmer? But maybe there's some middle ground where you can live. You don't have to be a farmer. You can just maybe grow some of your own food a little bit and still have that connection.
Yeah, that's correct. You know, I see more and more, especially I don't know if you look it up, like in the coast, in those areas, those urban areas, you see a house, but right next to the house they have some vines, or they have little things like that. I think it's, you know, pretty good idea, because years ago you didn't see nothing like this. I don't know if it is because the monetary necessity, that hey, I had these vines because I'm gonna make wine, or this, you know, I make a buck or more, or it's because, you know, people kind of look at it, hey, I can do these things, I can do, you know, be proud to me to do these things. And also I see women a lot more into these areas. Before it was only men doing that, but you see more women interested doing these things. You know, I look my neighborhood where I live, you see my neighbors all the time with the little spade, cleaning or putting new plants and everything. It's just nice. You know that in one time, the garden or the garden guy was doing all these things. Now they doing themselves because they feel good, because they say, hey, look at my flowers, because they say, yes, you look at my flowers, how nice they look and everything. Yeah, say, oh, I feel good. It's those things that I think people, it should be proud, that they can do these kind of things, and it's not that hard. It's just kind of follow some little directions and look at experience, kind of look able to follow, to see things. What happened if I put too much water? What happened if I don't put enough water? These things, I mean, it can teach you a lot of how everything is.
Why do you think you're seeing more women getting interested in this?
I think it's coming not to challenge men. I think it's coming. I think they like it to do these things. They experiment one time, and they like it, and they feel good about it. So why not?
Very cool.
That's what I think. I think it's not. Hey, you think men can do that? I can do that. I think it's that they experiment one time, and they like it, and they look it up, and they even, you see how many now agronomists we have, how many girls PCAs, checking fields and everything that you didn't see years way back. You didn't see it. Now you see it. I think it's not because they try to prove something. It's because they like this kind of job, this kind of challenge.
Yeah.
Oh, what do you think?
I have opinions about this.
We met another farmer down in LA who noticed the same thing, and he was saying, or his thoughts were that it's just kind of like a nurturing, part of like nurturing something and growing something,
right.
and women.
With the womb.
Yeah, with the womb and the growing of babies inside of them, it's just part of just a part of them. But he noticed the same thing, and they have like a woofing on their farm, so like willing workers on organic farms who like people who come and volunteer at the farm just to work, work and stay and stuff. He said a large proportion of them were also women who were interested in it.
Yeah, I wonder about this also, if it's like kind of just like an extension of wanting to protect, what's there for the next generation.
Well, it's one of the things. It's one of the things that we have to think real hard. One of the deals that the farmer I read years ago, that when the farmer leaves the farm, supposed to leave the soil a lot better than when he got it. And that's what we had to do. We had to think about what we're gonna leave our kids, our grandkids. Don't you want to live a lot clean world, a lot better food and everything? You look it up. Back in those years when all these fast food explode and everything, how people start going like this. You wanna leave that for your grandkids and everything. You don't wanna do that. You wanna create something a lot more healthy, a lot more fun, so your kids grow up healthy and be stronger and be good people for that society. I think it's not only a necessity. I think it's a responsibility that we have to do that.
Amazing. Yeah. Yeah. That's the long-term goal for me, to have some land and leave it better than I found it.
Yeah, because I mean, look at how is everything. We getting better in everything. We get better cars. We get better technology, better in everything. Why not living better lifestyle?
That brings me to an interesting question. What does progress mean to you?
Not necessary, all that beautiful things, but I mean progress. That means that we get a better ourselves, and all that on all the way, not only in certain area. Getting better, talking with anybody, doesn't matter where you come from, where you are, and everything. Getting, I think, and like I said, and doing everything better for ourselves and for the future. I think that means progress, not only what we see, the beautiful things that we see, but if we wouldn't get it along with our neighbors, I don't think it's progress for us. That we can live peaceful. You see this world, wars all the time. I think when we get more progress, we ain't gonna see that. We're gonna see less and less and less. Don't you think?
I do. It's interesting because conventional wisdom would say that we've progressed a lot in the last 30, 40 years, but like you said, wars have become more and more prevalent.
That's right. Yes.
And so
we've been in a war since I was in high school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
15 years or something we've been at war.
Yeah.
It's just like, how is that progress? Because wars happen when there's insecurity, like you're saying.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think that the man prefer war. I think is insecurity and kind of, I don't know, try to think the right word. That is that the lowest part of the society, because wars is destruction and everything, and you don't want to do that to a society. And fortunately, a lot of people think different ways. That's why so many unhappy people and happy people in our society. All the time is fights, Republicans, Democrats, or whatever it is, But we never get a common sense in both parties to think about, what is good.
Do you think something like soil health and soil management is something that can bridge the gap between different people at all? Like understanding how...
I think so. Because you look it up. Let's go back and in those countries that they cannot feed themselves. Let's twist it. How about if we go and teach them how to treat the soil, how to work on the soil, how to feed themselves? And I bet you that those people will be a lot more happy than ever, because they're gonna feed themselves, and they're gonna try to teach the kids how to be themselves, and be a lot more help for society instead of fighting for food. Because it's what they do. When you're hungry, what you're gonna do? You're gonna try to eat no matter what, kill or whatever. But if you learn how to feed yourself, you don't need to do all these crazy things.
Yeah.
It's like the guy say, let's teach him how to fish, not to give it the fish. And I think those things that we see right here, if you look at the stories that we're doing in the United States, how the United States is going to other countries, how to teach agriculture, how to do all these things, how those countries become, a lot more happy, a lot more progress and everything. But fortunately, we cannot go to the whole world and start teaching, But we started in a lot of countries. One of the countries was Israel. We started with them how to, produce food. We started also, we teach a lot to Australia how to do things. Now those guys, they bring us new technology to help us even how to farm better. Because they get independent, hey, we can do these things, and that's true. I mean, you go and teach your neighbor to do one thing, well, your neighbor can find out that doing that one thing, they can do something else too. And your neighbor, you know what, neighbor, the way you told me, you can do this too, and things get better.
That's how it happens. It's a good investment.
Yeah.
Yes.
So maybe not on the world scale, but in terms of like local California, how do you feel about the Jeff Mitchell's California Farmer Demonstration Network, like farmers showing farmers what they're doing in local areas? Do you think it'll be like a benefit, or how do you feel about?
It's great benefit. It's really great benefits, because we learning we learning from other farmers what they doing, and then not necessarily you're gonna do the same, but you can get your points and get the best points and do better what you're doing. It's like Mitchell is, hey, don't till minimum till, or minimum tillage, or cover crops, or minimum this. But if you look it up, what he has, he say, I think I can do these things, and save quite a bit. This stuff that I'm doing that doesn't get me no place. It's how we started. When I went and started learning about smart farming, now when I went where I went to the Midwest, I'm gonna try to do everything what they do over there, but hey, I applied right here what was visible and was best for this region, and teaching the neighbor, showing the neighbor, open the mind, open a lot of doors for many ideas. And when the farmers get together and start talking, it's like conference room. You learn a lot of things. sometimes, you know, so many things that we're not able to absorb the whole content, but it's a lot of information. If you listen and kind of visualize, hey, you know, I can do these things in my deal and save me this much money and do this and do, and actually you're doing it, you're gonna see that, you know, how hard and how easy it is, but how you can be more perfect to that. And it's, I think it's the way that everybody is gonna be in progress, right?
Can you talk a little bit about the risk of adopting a new practice and what you do personally to try to keep that risk low?
It's all the time, it's risk to change. But let's say that's why we go to these deals. But I say, for example, I have 150 acres. I know how to manage my own way, those 150 acres. Someone comes to me and says, hey, it's a new way, you know, if you can do that. Okay, yeah. Can tell me how and everything. And tell me how and why and this and that. I say, well, I'm going to try 1 acre. Not 150, I'm going to try 1. If I like it, I can go 5. I like it, maybe I can go 75. If everything works, boom, I go the whole way. It's how. I think it'll be the easy way. Don't put everything in one basket, you know, little by little. It's the easy way, the less risk, and it's, but follow what you do. Be careful, look real careful what you do, why it's changing, and if you are able to come out the way you change it, and what you can do better. If you can do it, this guy told you, hey, you can do 3 times, passing 3 times in the field, and you can do these things. But if you look it up, that you don't need 3 passes, you can do it in 2. If it works, why? Works. Yeah.
Very cool. Do you have any other things?
Actually, the same.
Yeah, I think I feel pretty good. Wouldn't mind going to the shop or checking out machinery
Okay.
and kind of like
All right.
Yeah, the
moving
fun stuff, the bells and whistles.
moving